Hey, how's it going, lads and lasses? We got another pretty cool figure review today. This is something that I think is pretty neat and I'm pretty happy with. This is a Dracula figure based off of Bela Lugosi's famous portrayal of the character, but you could pretty much consider the original as far as movies and cinema goes. And this figure is produced by a company called Jada Toys. Now, this is a little bit unusual for this company. They're more of a die-cast company. They make a lot of like die-cast miniatures that usually come with a vehicle. They had the Halo license a few years ago. I remember they had, I think they had like a Hornet that came with a little ODST figure and is actually articulated, and I always wanted that, but I could never quite get my hands on it. So this is really something that's a little bit out of left field for them, as far as I could tell anyways. I haven't really seen any examples of them doing articulated figures in any scale other than that really small scale. So definitely nothing this size. As many of you probably know, this year is, well, by this year I mean 2021, is the 90th anniversary of both Dracula and Frankenstein, as well as the 80th anniversary of the Wolfman. So we've been seeing a lot of Universal Monsters merch this year, and I'm pretty stoked about it. You know, another great example is, of course, NECA has the license. They released their Frankenstein's monster figure. That was awesome. Don't need to go into that. I'm sure, you know, plenty of people have covered that in depth. And they've got Dracula coming along the way, but this kind of fills a different niche than what NECA's figures typically would. Those are, you know, more the collector's grade that are still fun to pose. This is more of like a, say you took your kid to Universal Studios. This would be like a souvenir type of thing that you'd pick up while you're there for your kid. Or if you're like me and you're a collector and you don't really care that it's a bit more on the kiddie side. You just like cool action figures. But yeah, this is it's just kind of that, it bridges that gap between something that your kid could play with and something that you can collect and display. Because we don't have a lot of good Dracula figures in this scale, which is kind of weird. I know that Bela Lugosi's family is pretty protective over his likeness, which is definitely understandable, but we're finally starting to see them lighten up on that. Let's take a closer look at this figure. For what it is, the likeness to Bela Lugosi isn't terrible, actually. It's like a Marvel Legends tier figure, maybe just a tick below that. But it's definitely gotten closer than anything else in this scale so far until NECA's comes out. So I'm going to take this cape off real quick. As the cape comes off, it has these little tabs in the back that the cape wraps around. It's actually easier than you'd think to hook and unhook it onto those tabs. And I'll get into the cape here after I get into the articulation. So you have a basic ball joint on the neck. Pretty decent range of motion there. You know, you can have them looking down if you want to. Shoulder swivels out. It's a little stiff at the shoulder there, but that's about the only thing that's stiff. And then rotates full 360. It's got a little bit of a swivel where the shoulder would meet the bicep, and you've actually got some double jointed elbows there. Wrist has a swivel, and it can rotate all the way around, but the wrist just goes in and out. I think there's a ball joint at the torso there. It's a little inhibited by his vest, but it kind of rocks a little bit back and forth and rotates a little bit. Then you have the leg can kick out. Dracula can do full splits. And double jointed knees right there. And basic swivel on the foot. You kind of have that Hasbro style ankle rocker, but not exactly the same. And that about covers the articulation there. So we'll get into accessories now. We'll start with the cape, which is really my only point of contention with this figure. So it's just kind of a basic cloth cape. It's got some It's kind of stitched here in the middle, just so that you can kind of fold it out like that if you wanted to. So you can drape it over him in a few different ways, but it just kind of sits on him weird. Like, this shoulder is higher than this shoulder, and this part kind of sticks out further than this part. And the collar, when it wraps around, this side goes right up to his cheek, whereas this one kind of goes way far back there. So it's really the only thing. I actually have, like, a third-party cape coming that I'm going to try. You have this candlestick that he holds with this hand here. He holds that pretty well. You have this bat, and what's cool about this bat is that he's got hooked feet there, and that will actually hook to his finger. So he can kind of hold it like that. So that's kind of neat. You get one set of alternate hands, so one for each hand. You know, kind of positioned to hypnotize people. And then you get an alternate head where he is bearing his fangs, which isn't as bad as I was thinking. You know, I saw the promo images and I didn't really care for this head, but having it in hand, it's a lot cooler than I thought it was going to be. So all in all, this is a really, really cool figure for what it is, especially because we don't, like I said, we don't get a lot of Dracula figures, and we're really just starting to get some good ones in this scale. For comparison, I have something that kind of filled a similar role here. This Dracula figure, I don't know who made this one, but it was part of like a one series line that was also like a Universal Studios Parks thing that was basically for souvenirs, where the line had Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, the Wolfman, the Mummy. I think it had the Creature from the Black Lagoon. I can't remember if it had the Bride of Frankenstein or not, but each of them had to build a figure to make just a big Frankenstein's monster figure. So really, in this scale, up until this point, this was the only Dracula figure that I really liked. And of course, Mego did one, well, they did a couple technically recently that are also pretty good, but I'm just comparing these two because they kind of fill a similar role, even though this one's about an inch taller. So that's more the 7-inch scale. This is like 6.5-inch scale. This one has better articulation, though, and it has a better likeness to Bela Lugosi, obviously. This one's a bit more generic, because like I said, Bela Lugosi's family's a bit protective over his likeness. That's why you don't see too many Dracula figures, at least that are accurate to his portrayal. You'll see a lot of creative takes on it. I know Diamond Select did one that was also just kind of generic Dracula looking thing, but I didn't really care for that one because that didn't have hardly any articulation. I thought about getting it just to customize it, but it would have been too much work. So I'm glad we have this guy here. It's really cool. You know, it's easy to get. It's not expensive. It's part of a series that includes him, Frankenstein's monster, the Bride, and the Creature from the Black Lagoon. I don't think, if it has anybody else, it's the Mummy. I wish it came with the Wolfman, because he's my favorite. I think werewolves are badass, and he's, you know, the original. But hopefully this line will do well enough that we get a Series 2 that'll have the Wolfman, maybe the Mummy, the Invisible Man, what have you. There's lots of possibilities that they could do with this line, and I hope it continues, because it's pretty cool. Either way, I'm just stoked to start getting cool Dracula figures, and this is something that I've been wanting for a while. So I would highly recommend this figure, especially as something to hold you over until NECA's comes out eventually. Because, like I said, these fill two different niches, so you can have a display that features both of them, and they're both, you know, there's room in the world for both of them. That's how I feel. So you can find this on Where I would go is get it on Big Bad Toy Store, their website. That's where I usually get my figures. You can also get it on Amazon. I'm sure you can get it on Entertainment Earth, and I'm sure most online toy stores are going to have these, the full lineup. You could probably get all of them in a bundle. I just know that for sure it'll be on Big Bad Toy Store and Amazon. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. I'll have one of Frankenstein's monster coming up here soon, because I have him as well. I don't have any of the other ones, though. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all have a good one, and I'll see you guys next time.